Hey there, baseball fans, and welcome to another Prep Baseball North Carolina podcast. It's been a while since we've seen you. I'm Brandon Hall, the North Carolina Director of Scouting and the Mid-Atlantic Director of Scouting as well. With us, we got our East Coast and West Coast Scouting Directors from North Carolina, Zach Borowski and Patrick Johnson. Gentlemen, we talk all the time. We see each other all the time, but it's been a while since we've done this. It's good to be back. Going to be a great 2025.
Yeah, completely agree. Gonna be a good year. Gonna get some podcasts going this year, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something we're going to add a lot more. We're trying to find a weekly or every 2-week podcast for everybody, just kind of keep us all updated. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We kind of look forward to being able to you guys see us and we see you guys a little bit more, that we kind of recognize our faces when we get out and about, so you kind of know who we are.
It's always exciting when we get a chance to do these and kind of expand in the different ways that we know what we're seeing, what we're talking about. Obviously, none of us are professional writers. We do a lot of blogging, a lot of things of that sort, but it's just another way for us to get information out. We're going to try to set a day and a time, and this is when it's going to drop. It's going to be out each week. That may be a little tough with our schedules at times. Obviously, trying to get out and see games, see players. We've got events going on. We all three of us have lives outside of this that we'd like to tend to here and there. So we're going to do our best, but we're back. We're excited, and we're going to jump right into it because across North Carolina, we've already got some news with the 2025 class, the 2026 class, and it's surrounding draft buzz. The 25 class got deeper. We're going to jump into that a little bit later. But one of the things that we've got coming up, let's start with this. Is this the deepest class that we've seen in North Carolina in our 10 years? It's been roughly 10 years. We're closing in on it. It's been 7, 8 since we've been here in North Carolina running Prep Baseball Report, now Prep Baseball. Is this the deepest class we've seen? I'll start with you, Zach, just in terms of how deep is this class? And then, can you compare it to some other draft class you've kind of followed?
I think it's got a chance. Obviously, some of the earlier draft classes had a different draft model. So the draft model is kind of going to change a little bit of deepness to it. I think this class has got a chance to have a bunch of guys go early. What we've seen lately is there's a couple helium guys starting to kind of blow up, starting to post some numbers that people are going to have to go in and see. I'm going to stick to the 22 class as of right now with Xavier Isaacs and Clifford and those guys. I think they've had 9 total guys so far make it, at least pro ball affiliated, signed, undrafted free agent. So I'm going to stick to the 22 class just because they had some of the bangers up top. I do think this class might be a little bit deeper in terms of how far like some of the elite arms and how far some of the hitters are. So if you look at the whole class as a whole, you got some guys ranked 75 to 100 that are going to a legitimate major college. And I think that's kind of part of the thing that's changing with it.
When you look at that 22 class and trying to track kind of how those guys are doing, we've seen a couple of guys already starting to kind of climb their way up. Let's fast forward that to the 25 class. Are there guys in this class where you look at him, Xavier Isaacs was a little bit of an unknown because of an injury issue. He missed a lot of his junior year and his that big summer, that ramp up into the senior year. And, some of the area guys knew him. They did a great job on him. Some of the national guys, the cross-checkers, the scouting directors, some of the guys that are pulling the trigger really early, really had to work to get to know him. This class has some of that. And we're going to get some of those guys. But there's also guys at the top of the list that guys really know. And so do you see a chance for those guys to kind of make that quick ascension through the minors, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, you got, Hammond and James at the top. And, they've both been on the circuit forever. They are elite talents. So I do think they got a chance to kind of move fast. They are very polished for high school kids, which is something you can't say very often. I do think the guy that's going to get that Xavier Isaacs helium is CJ Gray. Another guy that not everybody has seen. We all know it. We all know he's talented. We just got to see it. So I think you got the 2 guys up top that are polished. And I think you got a guy right behind him in CJ Gray that could be 94 to 97, and the whole world's coming in to see him in a hurry.
And Patrick, as we look ahead to these guys, one of the things they're going to have to navigate is that decision, high school versus college. And you were a high-end prospect. I don't know that you had the helium in high school to say, okay, what kind of decision am I making, and is that big a deal? But you did see firsthand what happens to guys that choose college. And then you've got a chance in pro ball to kind of see some guys go through that. What are some of the things these guys are going to be dealing with, if they choose to go the college route, if they choose to go the professional route? Did you see things that kind of help these guys with that decision making? Where there are there areas to kind of consider as they're looking forward and looking to what their future path may be?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Zach said, I mean, there's guys on the list at the top that have a chance to go through quickly. They got that high end talent, and then there's also guys on the list that, might end up in college, and then they progress and they got the chance to play pro ball and then move up as well. But like you said, for me, I wasn't really a huge draft prospect when I went out of high school in 2007, which was a pretty tough class with Bumgarner and those guys. But college for me was awesome. Went to North Carolina, so everything was top end. And then, I went to pro ball, had to make the adjustment. I mean, I think for some of these guys, it's going to be, what's going to change their life more, especially with the way things are in college now. And it's completely different than when I went through it, but they're going to have some decisions to make. I mean, I think that it's going to be fun to watch and see what they end up doing. But, it's going to be life-changing for some of these guys either way.
From a college perspective, looking at how those prospects affect the high school draft. Obviously, we've seen the draft really trend towards older players, more data. The more at bats, the more things that we have on TrackMan, the more information we have on these guys, there's more comfort in paying those guys money. There's risk with high school players. We've also seen teams that have excelled at high school evaluations take steps forward and get ahead of what their payrolls may have a chance to be because they have more talent, a better talent pool to pull from and distribute as they're trying to make runs late in the year. So, we'll start with Zach, and you're looking at some of the college prospects. I know we haven't dove into those completely yet, but you have a little bit of a feel. It seems to be down in this region, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, compared to years past. The high school talent seems to be up. As you're talking to your scouting buddies and the scouting community, how are they going to attack this spring in trying to evaluate this vast region that we do cover?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit is there's immense talent around. I mean, you got the whole ACC and the SEC in South Carolina down there, so you get to see everybody. Last year was such a high-level class that it's kind of hard because everything's going to take a step back from last year. You got multiple, I think 3 or 4 first-rounders out of the Carolinas. Like, it's just hard. It's hard to be able to have that every year. So basically now is kind of – there's a lot more notes. There's a lot more going in to double check and triple check. Before, it was kind of like, oh, we know this guy's good. Let's send in the next guy to make sure, like, we want to be here with him. And now we're sending in a set of eyes. We might send in a second set of eyes just to make sure that we kind of see the same things, that the data is matching. Sometimes we might see a guy 92, 96, and we're like, oh, this guy's really good. And then one of our other guys goes in and sees him 90, 92. So now it's going to be a little bit more of, I won't say note taking, but just kind of fact checking yourselves, making sure you trust your, analysis on the guys. It's going to be a little bit more of checking behind to make sure that these guys are there and making sure we have a broader set of names just because somebody might pop up on the fly. So you're going to have to kind of go and see a couple midweek games in case the bullpen arm jumps up or something like that.
Hey, do you think, like, with all the changes and stuff in college, you think now, I mean, it makes it harder on these college coaches because you think it's more of like a play now attitude when these guys get there instead of like develop guys with all the changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think when me and you went to school, there was guys that just got taken to red shirt and developed. Like you had the 6'6" guy that was maybe 87 that was getting developed at a Division I school with all their nutrition and stuff. And I think now it's a little bit different. And I mean, like, as you know, the older you are, the harder it is to get drafted. Like one of our things when we were working with the Angels and stuff is like, guys are 24 and 25, but we're releasing guys at 24 and 25. So, yeah, they're helping you win a whole lot of games in college. But going to pro ball aspect of it, them being older sometimes hurts. And so that's kind of where you got that double-edged sword of winning. And you might be able, you're not really as developing as much as you're getting a guy that's already proven and can do it right then on the spot.
Man, I was 23 in short season. Come on, easy with that now. So.
we're seeing infields average 23 now.
I was 28 in AA, and I was the oldest by a lot. So.
Well, and there's a lot of that talk. You're seeing the number of guys with just pure unbridled talent, the number of guys touching 96, the number of guys bumping 99, the ability to kind of – I don't know if you're ever going to develop really true secondary stuff or a third pitch, but we can get him to the big leagues in a year and a half, and he can be there for a year and a half, and then we got the next guy coming. And
Right.
so I think there's some of that being at play too. And the college coaches are having to deal with the NIL and the transfer portal. So yes, they need to play early because it's having an effect on what those guys are making. And if they don't play, then they're going to lose them. And so there is some development. I mean, it's a tricky situation. If you go into pro ball, you have a little bit more time to develop it in terms of, hey, we're going to stick you here, but it's not as much time as we had 3 years ago because we're lacking 1 to 2 levels.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about maybe we just go to high A. One of the things that we're seeing with data and one of the things that teams are experiencing is they don't feel like the lower levels are giving them accurate data reads. The dispersion of velocity of stuff, of exit velocities, of launching is too big. As players get older, that dispersion starts to kind of come, and this tells you who the player is.
Yeah.
What some of the data people are seeing, though, is they're kind of saying, that dispersion is because of the league and because of the people they're playing against. Guys aren't throwing the same number of strikes. I think it's age. But the data people are winning a lot of battles right now, and we're if they're not getting the information they need out of A-ball, they'll get rid of A-ball. They've already done it. And so I think it'll be interesting to see where that happens and how that affects these guys because, we're seeing it with college football. Guys can shun the NFL for a year because they're going to make $4 million. We're not there in baseball, but we are at the point where if a team comes in and says, hey, here's 500,000, there are teams ponying up. Hey, here's 450 plus school. And we're going to give it to you for 3 years. They're going to give it to you once. So there's some ways now that college coaches have a chance to fight against that. It's just a tricky battle continuing down that line too. So
right, yeah. Like I said, I think they're going to have to look at that when they go into draft day. I mean, what's going to be the better situation for them? They're just going to have to weigh it, see what's better for them.
I don't think it's ever going to be the elite guy. Like, I think the signing bonuses usually will win out on the elite guy, but I think it's that next tier, where a school will give you 100, 125,000 and then, the major leagues teams are looking at you for 300, 350.
Right.
And over 3 years, you kind of get it. You get to experience college, like college is fun. Like it's a different atmosphere than, pro ball life. So I think that's the thing that's going to change the most is it's not going to really affect elite guys. I mean, there might be one here and there, but I think it's that next tier, the guys that are in that 3 to 500,000 signing bonus range, maybe 6. You get a couple of them schools that, want to pony up and make sure you get on campus. They can make that pretty close over a 4-year span for you.
Let's dive into some of the guys that we're talking about here in North Carolina. And the biggest national and probably, I would bet to say world now that we're into Taiwan and we're into Asia, but the biggest preseason draft event going is the Super 60. It's been held in Chicago since prep baseball started. It's a massive venue. It's a great venue. It draws scouts. It draws area guys, draws cross-checkers. We've seen scouting directors. We've seen GMs in there. And the roster that Shooter and our national team have put together with the help of guys like us in the state, we've put together a great roster. That roster is actually dropping tonight at 7 p.m. And get a chance to see who are these guys and not just who are the top ranked guys, because, that's part of it, but also who are the guys that have helium? Who are the guys that pro scouts need to see? North Carolina had a record-breaking 6 guys invited, which is one of the kind of measurements I'm using to say, hey, this class the best class we've had in North Carolina since we've been here. But with 6 guys invited, at this point, we've got 4 that have decided to attend, and we're going to start with a 2-way player. Josh Hammond, number 1 player in our 2025 class, Team USA alum, great summer, 2-time prep baseball All-American. We profile him a little bit more as a position player, but Patrick, let's start with you. I'm going to start with you on Josh and kind of talking a little bit about his pitching, and I can jump in there too as I've seen some of these at the All-American game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, profiling more as position player, but I mean, you just look at his talent from both sides and what he can do, and I mean, it's just, it's tough to say one way or the other at the moment, but I mean, I think he's going to excel in whatever he chooses. I know you've seen him more times than me. Yeah, I see you pulling the video up now.
It's a powerful body. It's a quick arm, and he was with us as a rising 8th grader at bumping 80-45. I mean, the velocity's kind of built over time. It didn't just show up. He throws enough strikes, but it's kind of a control over command. It's fastball, slider. He does have a changeup he has feel for. But you can see there's a little torque in the body. There's some unwinding there. But the ball is explosive out of hand. The fastball has hop. The slider has depth. And then he's a really good athlete around the mound. And so he profiles, and he reminds me a little bit, and Zach, you're going to help me with the name, Oklahoma State Garner High School quarterback.
Nolan McClain.
Nolan had more pure, raw power. I would put the athleticism up there with Nolan.
Yeah, I got him.
The ability to kind of do what he does, I would kind of give the nod to Josh. If I can get off this video here. We're efforting. Mouse
nice.
There was a guy a couple years ago.
That's kind of what we're looking for. But we do talk about him as a – go ahead and talk Zach, expand a little bit, him versus Nolan, because I know you have a relationship with Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, I got him closer to James Triantos, a guy that the Cubs picked out of the second round of Virginia, infielder. Arm strength is always going to be there. The benefit to Hammond, the spin rate's 3,000, but I mean, I think he can hit, and you're going to have to let this guy hit for as long as he can. Roster crunches and stuff nowadays, he might exit two-way. I'm not going to say he's not.
There's value in it because of what they're doing. I'm talking on the screen, but there's value because of what they're doing with the major league roster, the Ohtani rule. So if you can get a guy, he doesn't count against your pitching limitation in the postseason. So if you have a guy that's a dual, he's a long, long way from people making that decision on him. But you are seeing organizations kind of work through that and figure out if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely talented. It's hard to find bats. Bats are, the hardest thing to find. When you always had the fallback of, 92, 96 with a 3,000 spin, it's okay. That's always a great fallback plan. But I mean, for him, I think he can two-way, or I think, they're going to let him go as far as he can as a hitter. And then eventually, we see where that gets to.
He was our number 2 most viewed profile in 2024. Number 1's going to be released. That was released last night. Number 1's going to be released on Wednesday. So you can follow along with all our social media channels and on the website to kind of figure out the top 25. We've done a countdown. We've gotten through number 2. He was at number 2 and well deserved. He's done enough. Let's talk a little bit about, his prospect, Zach, as a hitter, and diving into that a little bit. And I'll pull the video up so you can kind of watch that and walk us through a little bit of what you're seeing there. It's going to take me a second because my computer. There we go.
We're still learning.
Yeah, it's new. It's new. There we go. So we'll skip through that. There's a swing right there.
I mean, he's big and physical, which he always has, and his plus bat speed. And it's simple. The benefit that he has is there's not a whole lot of moving parts. And if you're physical without a lot of moving parts, you got a chance to hit. And he's always hit, and he's always hit it hard, and the ball is leaving the yard. Even right there, he's going to right center on balls. He can close off a little bit. I think they'll kind of adjust that if he gets up into pro ball. I think that's pretty much his only real negative is he can cut off his swing a little bit right there. But other than that, it's plus power, it's plus bat speed. He can hit. He's physical. He's going to stay in the middle of the diamond. And at worst comes to worst, you have a power hitting third baseman. There's a lot to like in a guy like that.
He'll be an interesting follow, and we're excited to have him with the Super 60. Another name that pops up for the Super 60 is a little bit in that mold of Xavier Isaacs we talked about. It's a player that missed a lot of his junior season, a lot of his junior summer, made it come back late in the summer, around the fall. But Everett Johnson goes by Rhett Johnson, Eastern Carolina Academy, was Wesleyan or Wayne Country Day, and now Eastern Carolina Academy. Fast twitch, highly athletic, kind of a utility shortstop, or not shortstop, a second baseman, center fielder, probably profiles a little bit more in the outfield. But the speed plays, the hand-eye coordination plays. Have you guys had a chance to see Rhett a whole lot? I know he was hurt as you guys kind of got more on board with us.
I saw him at the border battle when I was coaching the Mets, the scout team. It's an elite eye. Hand-eye coordination is off the charts. He's a table setter, top of the order guy. The benefit to him, if he can get in the pro ball with the base stealing rules, he might steal 60, 70 bags pretty easily, just the quickness and the amount of jumps he gets. So I think, he's got that. You can just watch him here. He is absolutely flying down the line. Not really sure where we got the home to first all the time with him, but it's elite. He's an elite runner, and He has enough power. You know, he's going to be a gap power guy. I'm sure he'll be able to pull some balls. You know, Patrick tell you all the minor league and major league balls go a little further than everything else. So, you know, he'll get a chance to pull some balls out to right. But I think, you know, he's a table setter, especially, you know, even in pro ball.
And Patrick, we'll leave it on you for right now. Talk about those types of guys in pro ball. Maybe a little bit undersized, but their strength level is not undersized. You know, he's got a chance to drive baseball. He's not just peppering the ball over the shortstop's head and hoping to steal 2 bags. He's got a chance to drive baseballs. Does that profile play when you see all these guys around professional baseball that are 6'3", 215? Were there guys that you played with that fit that profile?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you see it now, typical, you know, 6'3", 215, they run fast, all this stuff. But then I played with plenty of guys that they might not hit the ball out of the yard all the time, but, you know, a bloop single over short or second, you know, they're getting to second base, maybe a double. I mean, and I saw several of those guys that, like you said, maybe they didn't have the home run power. They were gap with the speed and athleticism, and they made it to the big leagues. I mean, so it does profile. It's something that they look for, you know, and I think that with his athleticism and how he is, I mean, he's got a chance to do that once he gets into pro ball.
Another name that made a jump in the last year and has kind of earned his way here. He's with us at future games. He's committed to Chapel Hill. Matt McKnight is an infielder who's really done a good job with his body. He's added quickness. He's added strength. His long arms, long limbs. His swing's pretty efficient, especially for a guy that's got longer limbs. You know, and he's athletic enough now that you can kind of dream. Is he, with all the shifts and understanding the rules of where the ball is going to go, can they hit the ball at him? Because he's got a chance to play balls cleanly. But Matt's been invited to the Super 60. Zach, let's start with you. Thoughts on Matt McKnight?
Yeah, I actually watched the video the other day when he got going. It's a loose hand. Like, it's handsy, like it's twitchy, it moves. You know, he's got some long arms, so it's going to take a minute for them to get going. But there's some feel for the barrel. Like, it's got twitch. You know, I mean, bat speed's above average. I think it's close to 80. You know, I think we'll have to as long as we get through the zone, you know, every once in a while we get a little steep. But, like, he's got a chance to hit. He's got feel. He's got a plus arm. I mean, he profiles the left side of the diamond, and he moves well. You know, you wouldn't, like, watching this video, like, you don't think this kid's 6'3", 210. Yeah. And so that's, you know, a big part to him. He's hiding his body. You know, when you don't notice guys are big, or those are the guys that shock you.
And he's one of those guys, too, that you can see the difference in the year. You know, that was the first videos from future games. This video is from the pro case last year. You can see where he put on in 6 months physical strength. He got stronger. He got leaner. There's more quickness in the bat right here. So, you know, I think he's an interesting follow from that standpoint. Patrick, does he follow a little bit more that pro trend? Did you see some high school bodies like this when you were in pro ball?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got more of the pro style body. I mean, you know, not just because he's a Tar Heel, you know, that he should be at the top. But I remember watching him last year at the pro case, was impressed with him. I mean, like I said, he moves well for his, you know, his body type and everything. I mean, I think he's got a chance to get to pro ball, keep filling out, get stronger, and, you know, move his way up through. You saw a lot of guys like him when I was playing.
The final guy that's made his decision to attend Chicago and be at the Super 60 was a guy that wasn't invited until really a week ago. It's somebody that we had been talking to and heard some things about. We've been following him since he was in 8th grade. But then questions were being asked, hey, if he does something, can we get him to the Super 60? And the Super 60 is reserved for draft-eligible prospects. Meridian LeFew, our number 1 player in the 2025 class, reclassed this past week is the number 1 player in the 2026 class. He is now reclassed to the 2025 class. He'll be 18, a little under 18 and a half years old at the time of the draft, I think. You know, physical player, middle of the field player, athletic, got a chance to stick it short for a little bit. The bat has good ball to barrel ability, and there's strength. And he's shown an ability to perform at higher levels. I had a chance to see him covering the East Coast Championships with Team USA. As an advisor to some of the things that they do with their national team. And he really did a good job there of separating himself from some of the best players in the country. You know, let's start with this, guys. First, what are our thoughts on the reclass? I mean, does it make sense for that player to go ahead and make this decision?
I think it does. I mean, his age works, you know, he's like school-wise, like he's fine. So, I mean, it can't hurt him, especially like, you know, if you're trending to wanting to be a pro, going at 18-3, I think is what he's going to be versus 19-3. I mean, it matters. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it matters. And then if he wants to go to school, that gives him a chance to get drafted like 2021-ish versus 22-23. That matters too. So, I mean, like he's doing the right things to put himself to be the most successful.
I mean, when you're talented enough, then it's whatever plays better for you. It kind of reminds me of when I was at Chapel Hill. Levi Michael, he skipped his senior year and came to Chapel Hill early. It worked out for him. He was a first-round pick to the Twins in 2011. I mean, and Levi was as soon as he got there, impact player, helped us get to Omaha that year in 2009. And, I think Meridian can do the same thing with whatever he decides to do with the draft coming up or college. So I think it plays well for him, and he'll be fine whatever he does.
Yeah, the Levi Michael thing was controversial back in the day. Oh my gosh, a guy's going to skip his spring because he didn't come in the fall. I think he came in the spring, right?
I don't know. That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. I think if I'm right, and obviously it's not as big a faux pas now. You have more homeschool options. Players have a chance to get ahead. You have a lot of high school players taking college courses before they even set foot on a college campus. So, the education system's different. The preparedness is different. I like the move from the standpoint that if he does get to college, he's committed to University of Central Florida, UCF, he's going to get the fall. I think the fall is huge for these guys and getting used to the speed of the game and the everyday grind of college baseball because it is different than high school baseball. From a talent standpoint, I think it has a chance to stick. And we're going through kind of looking at our where he landed in 2024. He's our number 11 most viewed profile. He was a guy that made some noise throughout the year. He plays in the conference where he's going to see good arms. He's going to see good pitching. He has a chance to, kind of set himself apart. But Zach, as we're watching the video here, talk a little bit about the what scouts are going to have to go through maybe in trying to track him because he did miss that summer where all those guys they're not really bearing down on juniors, and now he's skipped a whole half semester to become a senior. They've missed that summer evaluation period.
Yeah, it's different. You kind of have your board early and, you kind of try and fill it up with high school elite talent early. That way you can get in and make sure all the right names get in. Then you kind of go back through and check off some people and see if they're college or pro material. For him, it's going to be a little different. I mean, he's going to walk in and be a top 5 round talent. So you're going to have to send in a couple decision makers and more than one person is going to have to come in and see him. So now you're kind of changing some schedules, making sure you see him. You got to find his schedule and hope that he matches up with somebody good early. It doesn't hurt him. Super 60, he's going to get his name out. That's a big deal for him. I mean, it's already out. Like, it's a well-known thing. We got a bunch of text messages on it the last week just trying to figure out a feel. The benefit to him is he's an amazing human being and a great kid. So, like, the character stuff he's going to pass without any questions. And his work ethic is unmatched to a lot of people. So, like, he's going to be fine in those things where, like, a lot of guys, like, that's where you're behind. He's already ahead in that game. So I think he'll be fine with all the other stuff. When you're a great human and you're good at baseball, it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's well said. I'm interested to see how guys react to having to go see him because obviously it's already a crowded deal and they're trying to plan their schedules on who they're going to go see and when. But what I think the things that North Carolina provides the scouting community with is you don't have to go see him play against a guy throwing 74. You can kind of match him up. When is he going to face Kiker? When is he going to face some of those, a Landon King has made a jump? When are some of these bigger names with fastballs that we have a chance to at least we can evaluate that guy? And I think the schedule they play typically at Grafton Christian is going to allow for that for him. So from that standpoint, they'll get those reps. From a defensive standpoint, there's probably there are better evaluators than me, but I think that just takes time. Does he really catch the ball with ease every day? How does he react to different surfaces? Does he have rhythm in his feet and his hands? You can see it in a pro style workout, but seeing those guys day after day after day, when something goes bad, how do they react and how do they correct can make a big difference in terms of where that prospect really is and how we project him because he's a different guy if he's not a shortstop. If we're saying, okay, he's got to run better to play in center field or do we have to move him to third? Now, what is the bat really going to do? That prospect of being in the middle of the field takes a little pressure off the bat. But we all know bat drives the prospect. So Final thoughts on Meridian and on seeing these guys, shift between classes. I think we're going to see more of this in years to come. Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to happen more often just with everything that's changed, and, they're going to do whatever's best for them. And, with the level of talent, I think you're going to see it more often. I mean, I think what you said about being able to see the guys more often, the more they can to be able to see who the player is going to help a lot. Because, I mean, that was something for me in pro ball that I saw a lot of guys, even college schedules, the pro ball schedules, it's different. It's every day, 144 games in the minor leagues, getting ready for 162. You're on it every single day. You wear down. So it's going to be exciting this year. And, there's going to be a lot to see with the guys that we have.
Zach?
Yeah, I think that you're going to have a lot more of this than you are the opposite. The way that college baseball is trending, you got to produce. And so, a lot of guys aren't taking high school producers. Like, they're taking guys that have done it in college. So, 5-7 years ago when we first started doing this, like, a lot of guys were reclassing so that they could get an offer a year later. Well, now when they get an offer a year later, it's from a lot of the same places or a little bit less because the transfer portal is winning the game. And I think, like, when you can go be a 26 to a 25, it gets you in. If you go to college, you're going to have experience. If you go to pro ball, you got experience. And I think that's kind of where I think the game is trending. I don't think it's trending to older. I think it's trending to experience. And a lot of people aren't counting experience as your grad year or gap year. And I think they're counting it more. Even if you go Division II, JUCO, NAI, like, a lot of schools are taking guys from there. And I think that's kind of the big thing. There's a bunch of Division III guys in Division I now. Like, when I played, that was never heard of, but now it's a normal. And the only way you get there is by playing.
Well, and we've got a chance to see some players here coming up. Preseason IDs kick off this weekend. We're going to be in Charlotte at the On Deck facility just outside of Pineville on Saturday. We're going to be at UNC Wilmington on Sunday in their indoor facility. Great time of year. It's early. It's January 14th. I don't think we're going to be putting final evaluations and final grades on guys now, but the IDs give us a chance to see some growth. These guys have been working hard since we stopped seeing them. That ability to see where they're at, see how their bodies have changed, see how they're moving different, and then also making our list for the spring. That stuff can be important. And Patrick, we'll start with you. What's kind of got you excited here for the next 2 weeks where you're seeing these preseason IDs?
Oh, like you said, I mean, those were two of my first events when it came on for prep baseball, and I'm sure we'll have some repeat guys there, and just to see the guys that have grown, the growth, just to get back into the swing of things. It's early getting back into baseball in the winter months. It's fun, and just ready to get out there and like I said, see the guys that have put in the work in the off season, see where they're at, see where they've grown to, and looking forward to seeing where they get to this year.
Zach, you see guys through the facility you're at on a daily basis. These early season reports. What do they really tell us?
That kind of gives you a chance to see where you are, and see where you are is a lot of we don't have all the technology in the world. So for us, the ball's jumping. Is it 90? Is it 96? There's a difference on what level you want to play. So for some of our older guys, it's starting to give you the data of I know data doesn't drive everything, but it helps. And so for us, it gives you a chance to be oh, okay, this is where we need to be. If you're 26, 27, all right, we got to improve this. It kind of gives you a chance to see your baseline and start working off of it. I mean, I remember last year we were in Burlington, and one dude just started bashing balls, and it was just oh my goodness. And then all of a sudden, he ended up committing to Winthrop, and you were just I think Garrett Bird, I think his name.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting over here oh my God, who is this? How have I never seen this guy? So that's the benefit you get. You also are going to get the surprise guy. When you walk in, and all of a sudden this guy's 6'2", 200, you're well, hello, Mr. Big Body. And then all of a sudden it's 88 and 97. You're oh, all right, let me pick up the phone real quick and tell some people that we have all never seen this guy and we need to.
I think that's the thing for me is we get a ton of names. We see a ton of video on Twitter. And honestly, some of the things that we see on Twitter and these videos players are putting out, and they're doing a great job of promoting themselves. Don't stop. But when we put them into a workout or we put them into a game situation, it's not the same. It's close, but you're 90, 92 in this facility, and they got all this metric stuff, and all of a sudden we go and watch you in the spring because we saw 92 and it's 86, 88. Still a good fastball, still an advanced fastball for high school. But sometimes those workouts, we're seeing that best snippet of everything that has happened over a 3 or 4 month period. There's enough stress in our events where players are a little bit more game-like, and so we get a little bit better feel. The other thing I love is we're spending time right now looking at schedules, trying to figure out who we're going to go see, and a lot of those answers or questions get answered over the next 3 weeks because these players that come to events go, got to see him. We got to see him. We saw over 400 high school games last year, and so the goal is again to do that this year. But it's not from a standpoint of we're just so dialed in on prospect. We like going and watching games, and part of what we have to do. Yes, we have to run events and we have to get these metrics because those things matter. But it can kind of start to shift us into areas where we get a chance to see, do those metrics apply to a game? Can he compete? Does he have toughness? And if those things are there, then you can start seeing the skyrocket of the prospect status and the ranking and things like that. So I'm excited. We're gonna have a great one. The numbers are good so far. We just need the Raleigh one it's in a covered facility at USA Baseball. We don't need it to be too cold. Fingers crossed. The other facilities are fantastic, and then our preseason all states. We're close to selling those out already. We just had the second round second round really of invites go out this week, and so if you're looking to attend one of these events, they're online. And you can apply, or request an invite to the preseason all states. Guys, kind of finish up what we're doing here. Let's talk a little bit about the best of 2024. We've had a bunch of series go out. We've had leaderboards. We've had our countdown from the top 25 most viewed profiles. We had 13.4 million views on our player profiles last year. It's unbelievable. And so seeing all that, is there anything that kind of sticks out? I'm going to kind of run through some of these leaderboards as you're talking. That kind of sticks out as your things you remember, whether it was an event, a player, a workout, or a news item that happened from 2024. Patrick, let's start with you.
Well, I remember the future games. Those were long days. But no, yeah, just lots of talent. All the events, lots of talent. We got to see it throughout the whole year. Some of our bigger events, we got to see tons of talent, pitchers, just they were loaded, from top to bottom, most events that we did. Just looking forward to kind of seeing how that plays this year compared to last year, see if we can replicate the same things. But I see you got the hard hit percentage here pulled up. Zach's boy Cuddy on there. Dude, mashed
cut show.
Yeah, and even these guys here, we saw a lot of them progress over the course of a season last year, and there's some guys still uncommitted, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they end up, this year during the season.
Zach.
Yeah, I'm more of a hitter. I mean, I know I pitched and hit in college, but I'm more of a hitter. So, like, the exit velo average and the exit velo, like the top end exit velo, like when we first started, we were using a T and we were just hitting it at me. Yeah. And now we gone to TrackMan, and it's, I remember the first ball I ever gave up over 400 feet. I used to claim that I could give up some homers. And, Josh Bussey, I remember you, Charlotte, 105.1, 405. I remember you. But, like that was so unheard of. And now, like, you're looking at numbers, 380s, like it's normal. You're getting the exit velos in the hundreds. It's normal. The physicality of kids is different than when I was a kid, and it's different in a great way. And so I think that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I think that the game of baseball is trending in the right direction in terms of just crazy good athletes. And, I don't think we see quite the elite runners as much as we used to. I think we're more in the strength-based world. I haven't – the 6'2", 6'3", 60s are, they were always rare, but you haven't really seen one blow up recently. But, like, these 110 exit velos are blowing up a lot. And so I think the physical strength is kind of increasing a little bit quicker than I would say the pure speed of the game for the eliteness.
And it's not just hitters too. That's – you look at pitchers, everyone throws 90 plus now. If you're not throwing 90 plus, you're behind the game. 95 is not as much of a rarity anymore from the pitching side, which could also be why hitters have higher exit velos because they're down the middle and they're smacking it out. So, either way.
I think the average major league fastball from when I first started scouting for the major leagues in 2017 was like 92.1, 92.4.
I think it was 92.3, something like that.
And now it's like 94.5. Like, I mean, I think we round up to 95 as a major league average fastball. Like, it's, I mean, 7-8 years since I've been in pro scouting. Like, it's 2.5, 3 miles an hour, which is, I mean, I feel like it's not that much, but like in 8 years, that's kind of insane to me.
So for me, the 2024 year was an evolution. You know, we've continued to grow here in prep baseball, especially in North Carolina. You know, part of my jobs, I kind of oversee Maryland, Virginia, DC, North Carolina, South Carolina. I have a vested interest, obviously, in North Carolina, kind of run that. But, you know, Sammy Esposito is doing a great job in South Carolina. I've been able to be more and more hands-off with that state over the last couple of years. Jerry Shank and his guys in Virginia and Maryland doing a great job and, you know, pretty much hands-off, just a sounding board and some things like that. And then, you know, we had the shift this year where, you know, Matt Payne, and, you know, he took a job with the Tigers, and it's been great for Matt. He's freaking killing it. He's doing a great job and had a good draft, and, you know, is out working his tail off, but it left a huge void in North Carolina. So, you know, got you two guys on board. We are doing so many things within the company and so many things, trying to get reports out on players, trying to get information to pro scouts and college coaches, trying just to know the game and be present, and be present in our areas, that it made me step back and kind of realize how much we're doing, because I had to reteach. Matt had kind of been along for that ride long enough. He was picking things up as they were being laid out, whereas you guys were coming in, and I'm trying to show you the background of what's going on. And it was a learning curve for me, just from a standpoint of how much we're doing. That's one of the reasons we took the step back from the podcast, is just trying to make sure we had the time to do things right. And you guys have done a great job in terms of, you know, continue to kind of bolster up what we're doing and grow the area, get to know players. And I think we're at a point now where, you know, we have a chance to kind of hit the ground really running in 2025. The numbers look good already so far in terms of the number of players we have a chance to see in the preseason and also again in the spring season. And then building towards our national events, building towards the border battle, building towards future games, junior future games, senior future games, the super sophomore games, which is new last year. We're going to announce that site again. It's going to be in North Carolina again this year, which is home game for us. But all those things, you know, there's an appreciation of where we've come from. Like Zach's saying, we were using a T and a radar to get that. My first event I ever showed up to, I had a radar, a couple clipboards, baseballs,
the notebook.
That was it. Yeah,
the notebook.
Yeah, they had the notebook where I'm circling evaluations on guys. You know, and now, you know, we're getting stuff out at the speed of light. Events are happening, and I'm getting phone calls on players that hit in the previous BP group because of what we're doing with our social media. And so that transition was good for me from a standpoint of being able to kind of recognize how much growth we've had, and, you know, proud of the work you guys did in your first year kind of on board full time. I know both you guys had a little hand in what we were doing before. Zach had worked some events and, you know, been in communication with us on some of the things that we're doing, but to be in kind of full every day. And then, you know, I think as much as good as we did, we're scratching the surface. So I'm excited about what 2025 has a chance to become. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate the baseball fans in North Carolina. And again, we're going to try and do this every week. You know, set a day, set a time. We're going to drop it. It'll be on X, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll have some clips thrown out on the Instagram. We'll clip this thing up throughout the week. But feel free, hit us up, drop comments. Let us know if there's things you want us to cover, things you want to know about. And as we really get good with all this technology, we are going to go to systems where you can be live on different podcasts, asking questions. We can answer right there on the spot. You can really put us to the test. So for Patrick, for Zach, I'm Braden Hall. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you at the field soon.